Subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated with the latest videos from School of Technology, Management and Engineering and MIMS Indore.
We'll now begin with our session on GUI game programming with Java by our session experts for today, Ms. Ayushi Sarda and Ms. Anushka Jain, students of MBA Tech Computer Engineering, third year, STME and MIMS Indore. The prerequisites are shared in the chat box, which you have to open in your browser during the session. Hope you all enjoy the session. Over to you, Ayushi and Anushka.
Thank you for the introduction, Rishi. Hope you all are safe and doing good. I am Ayushi Sarda
and I am Anushka Jain, here to talk about the topic GUI game programming with Java. Without any further ado, let's get started.
Now we have provided you with the link of the JDK or the Java Development Kit and the Eclipse IDE in the pre-read as well as on the link of the GitHub. The link for the GitHub has been shared in the chat box, and I hope that all of you have installed and downloaded it.
Assuming that you all have installed and ready to go, let us begin. Before we go on to GUI programming, let us talk about Java. We know that Java is a general-purpose, class-based, object-oriented programming language designed for having lesser implementation dependencies. It is a computing platform for application development. Java is fast, secure, and reliable. Therefore, it is widely used for developing Java applications in laptops, data centers, game consoles, cell phones, and many more. Before getting into a detailed explanation of the topic, in easy words, we can describe GUI as an easy-to-use visual experience builder for Java applications. GUI plays an important role to build easy interfaces for Java applications.
In this session, we shall show you how you can reuse the graphics classes provided in the JDK for constructing your own GUI game. I think at this point, we know a basic understanding of GUI and Java. Is there anything that we should know before starting it? Are there any prerequisites, Anushka?
Yes, this will be the basics of Java, including the basic syntaxes, data types, variables, operators, decision-making statements, loops, and methods. You can always watch last year's session by Isha Chauhan and Murtaza Sultan on our YouTube channel, which included all these topics. Also, we will be having some polls and doubt clearing session, so everyone is requested to note their doubts along and post them when asked. We will have them solved. Now let us start by asking you all a very basic question. How often do you use GUI in programming? To answer this question, I request you all to open menti.com and enter the code displayed on the screen, which is 54046724. We will wait for 1 minute. Ayushi, as we can see, most of us are new to it and doesn't use GUI in programming.
No, I think now we should start learning GUI. Anushka, we saw that the least of us use GUI in our programming. We should now directly hop to the introduction of GUI programming in Java. The very first question that comes into our mind is, what is GUI? Basically, GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. It is a term used not only in Java but in all programming languages that support the development of GUIs. A program's GUI presents an easy to use visual display to the user and is made up of graphical components through which the user can interact with the page or the application. In simple words, it just means that all the elements which we see while working in an application, whether it is a button or a drop down list or labels, they are known as graphical components. Now you all might be wondering that we already had C and C++, and both these languages were quite successful in their own days. Several applications were being made using them. Then, where do we use GUI in Java? The actions in a GUI are usually performed through direct manipulation of the graphical elements. Beyond computers, GUIs are used in application development, handheld mobile devices, software development, desktop application development, and game development. So now, let us see a quick comparison between a code coded in a GUI and a non-GUI code. So here we have this code which is a non-GUI code, and for the addition of two numbers. On running the code, we see that we have the console window appeared over here, and it says enter a number. So we'll enter the first number, maybe 45, and then we'll enter the second number, that would be 34. So we'll get the sum of the two numbers, that is 79, on the console window itself. But it looks a kind of boring and unattractive. So now let us execute the code with a GUI in which we have a pop-up window over here in which we have two columns to enter our first and the second number. So let's enter the first number in the first column and then the second number in the second column. And now on just pressing a button, we can get the output in a text field, and that looks attractive and interesting.
Finally, after talking about the overview of a topic, we will now discuss about it in depth. Now, what is API? API is the acronym for Application Programming Interface, which is a software that allows two applications to talk to each other. Like each time you use an app, send an instant message, or check the weather on your phone, you are using an API. There are currently three sets of Java APIs for graphics programming, which are AWT, Swing, and JavaFX. Firstly, starting with AWT, AWT API was introduced in JDK 1.0. Most of the AWT components have become obsolete and should be replaced by newer Swing UI components. Second, we have Swing. It is a much more comprehensive set of graphic libraries that enhances the AWT. It was introduced as a part of Java Foundation classes after the release of JDK 1.1. And the latest JavaFX, which was integrated into JDK 8, was meant to replace Swing. JavaFX was moved out from the JDK but still available as a separate module.
Definitely, there would be multiple ways to develop GUI-based applications in Java, out of which the most popular ones are AWT and Swing. But surely there are differences between them, like the AWT components are platform dependent, heavyweight, they don't support the pluggable look and feel, provide fewer components than Swing, and don't follow the MVC model. Whereas the Swing components are platform independent, lightweight, supports pluggable look and feel, provides more powerful components, and follows the MVC model. Anushka, after listening to the types of APIs, what do you think would be more comfortable to use in a game, Swing or AWT?
We should definitely use Swing as it is platform independent, which means that once you write a code in Java, You can run the same code on any platform, any operating system, be it Windows, Linux, Mac OS, or even Android. But before we start to learn Swing, we have another poll for you. And the question is, which API provides less memory? As you have done before, in the same manner, you will have to open menti.com and enter the code, which is 54046724. Please be quick with your answers. You have 1 minute to answer this poll. As we can see, there is majority of AWT. We also have answers for Java Swing as well. We have only 20 seconds left. Just be fast. The time stops now. As majority of you have voted AWT and it is the correct answer. That was amazing.
Let us now know more about JavaSwing. JavaSwing is a set of APIs that provides a graphical user interface for Java programs. The JavaSwing was developed based on earlier APIs called the AWT. The JavaSwing provides richer and more sophisticated GUI components than AWT. The GUI components are ranging from a simple level to a complex tree and table. The JavaSwing provides the pluggable look and feel to allow the user to make their Java programs independent from the underlying platform. To make you all more comfortable with the swing, we will do a simple code. To run your code, copy the code from the GitHub under the heading What is Java Swing? And we just copy the code and we'll paste it over our Eclipse IDEs. And here we'll run the code. So here we can see a simple window popped up with the basic Swing components over it. Anushka, do you know what is component class and what are the commonly used methods for implementing it?
Yes, a component is an object having a graphical representation that can be displayed on the screen and that can interact with the users. Buttons, checkboxes, scroll bars, etc. are some of the examples of component class. The most common methods used for implementing component class are: first, we have add method, which adds a component on another component. In this method, the parameter is itself a component. Second is set size method, which is used to set the size of the component. In this, the parameters are two integers separated by a comma, which are width and height of component respectively. The third is set layout method, which is used to set the layout of the component. The parameter in this is a type of layout, that is, in what way we have to see the component. And the last one is set visible method, which sets the visibility of the component and it is by default false. The parameter here is either true or either false.
Now, moving forward to know what is a container class. A container class can be described as a special component that can hold the gathering of the components. The important methods of the container class are add, invalidate, and validate.
Now it's the time for another poll. The next question is, container class is a subclass of component class. True or false? Again, open menti.com and enter the code 64371168. You have 1 minute to answer the poll. Your time starts now. Here we can see most of your answering true. Twenty seconds are remaining. Still, we have majority for true. The time gets over now. That was great. The majority of you have opted for the correct answer. The correct answer is true.
So now, the last and the most important topic that you need to learn for programming with GUI is string components. Here we are with the 10 basic string components which are frequently used in GUI programming. The list might look long and scary, but trust us, it is not. To help you all with this, we will be discussing and understanding each one of them individually.
Starting with the JFrame. JFrame works like the main window where components like labels, buttons, text fields are added to create a GUI. The next is JPanel. JPanel is a part of the Java Swing package. It is a container that can store a group of components. The main task of JPanel is to organize components. Various layouts can be set in JPanel, which provide better organization of components. However, it does not have a title bar.
Now, we come to our next component that is the JButton. The JButton class is used to create a labeled button that has a platform-independent implementation. The application results in some action when the button is pushed. It inherits the abstract button class. Now comes the JLabel. JLabel is the class of Java Swing. JLabel is used to display a short string or an image icon. JLabel can display text, image, or both. JLabel is only a display of text or image and it cannot get focused. JLabel is inactive to input events such as a mouse focus or keyboard focus. By default, the labels are vertically centered, but the user can change the alignment of the label accordingly.
The next component is JRadio button. The JRadio button class is used to create a radio button. It is used to choose one option from multiple options. It is widely used in exam systems or quiz. Next is JTextField. It is a part of Java.Swing package. The class JTextField is a component that allows editing of a single line of text. It inherits the JText component class and uses the interface swing constants.
The next component is JTextArea. JTextArea is a part of Java Swing package. It represents a multi-line area that displays the text. It is used to edit the text in multiple lines. JTextArea inherits JComponent class. The text in it can be set to different available fonts and can be appended to new text. A text area can be customized to the need of the user. Next is the JCheckbox. It is a part of Java Swing package. It can be selected or deselected. It displays its state to the user. JCheckbox is an implementation to checkbox. It inherits the JToggleButton class.
Next, we come to JComboBox component. It is a part of Java Swing package. JComboBox inherits JComponent class. It shows a pop-up menu that shows a list and the user can select an option from that specified list. It can be editable or read-only depending on the choice of the programmer.
Let us move on to our last component, which is JDialog. JDialog is a part of Java Swing package and the main purpose of the dialog is to add components to it. It can be customized according to the needs of the user.
Now that we have learned all the Swing components, let us test ourselves by taking the last four. Again, go to menti.com and type the code 64371168. The question for you all is, in which of the following multiple options can be selected? The options are JRadio button, J checkbox, and J combo box. This time also we have majority for J checkbox. You have 15 seconds with you left. Okay, the time is over. That is great. That seems that you all are with us. The correct answer is checkbox. Ayushi, now can we do a simple code for implementing the swing components?
Yes, for sure. For that, we need to open our GitHub links and we need to copy the code under the heading Swing Components. Here's the code for the Swing Components. We can copy it and we can paste it over our Eclipse IDs.
Now that we have copied the code, let us first understand what we have written in the code. Here we have used the import statements to import all the class from abstract windowing toolkit, that is AWT, and for swing class. Then we have the code for JFrame. Here we have added the title of the frame, which is swing components example. In the next line, we have set the boundaries, and then we have the set default close operation. Then we have set it the null layout. Coming to the JPanel code, it will store a group of components. So in the second line, we have similarly added the boundaries. Then in the last line, we have just added the panel to the frame. Next we have is for labels. Here we have 5 similar labels. Firstly, for all the labels, we have added the title for the label. Then we have set the font style and the font size. And in the last lines, we have added the label to the frame and also to the panel. Next is text field, which will allow editing of a single line of text. So again, we have set the boundaries, set the columns, and then added the text field to the frame. Now text area, which represents a multi-line area to display text. Here also we have set the boundaries and similarly added this to the frame. Coming to the check boxes, which is used to select or deselect multiple options. So we have 4 check boxes in our code. First line is for the title of the checkbox. Second is font style and the font size. Then we have set the boundaries. And in the last, we have added the checkbox to the frame. Coming to combo box, which shows a drop-down list from which we can select anyone. We have added the elements of the list which we want to display, then set the boundaries, and in the last line, simply added it to the frame. Now comes the radio button, from which we can select any one of multiple options. So we have 2 radio buttons in our code. We have set the title, then added the button group to the panel, and set the font style and the size. Lastly, we have J button, which is used to perform an action. So in the same manner we have used above, we have given the title, then set the boundaries and added it to the frame. Here we have given the name to the button, that is exit, and then we have set the action performed to exit. The exit button will take us again to the code. Now we will run this code. So here is our output.
So here we have a text field with the single line of input, so where we can type in a single line. And here we have a text area in which we can type in multiple lines like this. And then we have two radio buttons with a circular symbol from which we can select one. And then we have our hobbies with the check boxes from which we can select many or one. And then we have a combo box from which we can select any one option. And then on pressing the exit button, as Anushka said, we'll be heading back to our code. So, all right, the code works fine.
The respective codes for the Swing components can be found on GitHub in the respective topics under the heading Swing components.
Here it is, like here we have the JFrame link, and when we click it, we find the respective code for the JFrame. You can just copy it and paste it over your Eclipse IDE. But just remember one thing, that the name for our classes over here and the name of the classes which you get should be same, otherwise you will be having an error compiling it.
After learning this far, we shall take a quick doubt clearing session. Everyone is requested to drop their doubts in the chat box to Rishi Patangya. We will be taking few of them here for everyone. Rest, which will be left, would be answered personally in the chat itself. As of now, we have got one question, which is what is a layout manager? So, layout manager is an object that is used to organize components in a container.
Okay, so now we have the second question. What is JFC? So JFC stands for Java Foundation Classes, and basically it is a class of Java libraries that help us in building GUI. Okay, so that's pretty much about GUI programming, and we are also done with the theory part. Anushka, to be honest, I feel it isn't as difficult as it is hype. Don't you think?
Yes, I do agree. So, can we proceed towards making tic-tac-toe game using GUI in Java?
Yes, of course. Now we shall proceed towards making a tic-tac-toe game in GUI.
These are the rules which we all know, as this is everybody's most favorite and the most popular game.
True.
Before we move on to code our game, we should take a glimpse of it. So this is what a game will look like after the completion of a code. All right, everybody. Let us create a game of tic-tac-toe on our Eclipse IDEs. Open your Eclipse IDE. Go to File. Then select New. Java project. To create a new project, we'll call this tic-tac-toe. With all the T's capital and no spaces. Then click Finish. Don't select the module. Then we have to right click on our project. Select New. And then Class. To create a new class and call this class tic-tac-toe with all these capital and no spaces. Select the public static void main checkbox, then click Finish. Okay, so let us create an instance of tic-tac-toe within our main class. Then we are going to type in the name of the class tic-tac-toe and we'll need a name for the instance. I'll just call this tic-tac-toe all lowercase. So that is everything we need for this main class. Then we are going to type in the name of the class tic-tac-toe. Let us head to our tic-tac-toe class. We'll need a few imports before we begin working. And now we copy the import statements from GitHub. Here you need to open your GitHub. Then at the top, we need to go to application. Then click on tic-tac-toe.java. Here we have the code for all the import classes. Select and then copy. We'll paste it here. Yes. Next is the class definition. We want to implement the action listener interface. So right after tic-tac-toe, we are going to type it implement action listener without any space and with A and L in capital. See, here we get an error. It says import unimplemented methods. So we will also need to add unimplemented method. For this, we need to utilize this action perform method since we are utilizing the action listener interface. Let us now create the constructor for this class. Just type in the name of the class followed by a set of parentheses and a curly brace. Next, create a method that will determine whose turn is first, and this will be random. It will be X's turn first or O's turn. So let us create a public void first turn method and just declare this. Let us create a method that will check if there are any winning conditions or if any player has currently won. So we will do the same thing under public void check. Next, we will create a method that will check if there are any draw conditions or so. We will do the same thing under public void tie with capital T. Here now we are going to create two methods. One if X wins and the other if O wins. And we are going to check to see who wins within this check method. And at the end, we'll just call one of these win methods. Basically, we'll create one for X first. So public void X wins and we'll set up some parameters. So we are going to receive the winning combination of buttons. We will set this up to be integer values. So I will set up these parameters with int A, int B, and int C. That's it. Let's do the same thing for O, and we can just copy this and paste it and change X to O.
Okay, so now let's start by declaring a few things in the program. So we are going to determine whose turn it is first, and that would be random. So let's type after the implement statement. Just remember that in Java, the first alphabet of the class is always capital, and if the class includes two words, then the second word's alphabet would also be capital. So firstly, we need to import the random class, which will select a random number. So random, and we'll call that instance random with a small r equals new random, simple parenthesis and the semicolon. Then we'll be needing a JFrame. So we'll call that JFrame with J and F capital because there are two words in it. And we'll call that instance frame equals new JFrame. Now we want a label to serve as a text field to display a message for some sort of. So we'll write JLabel. We'll call that text field equals new JLabel. So now we create a panel to hold the title of the game. So we'll need a J panel and we'll call that title underscore panel equals new J panel. Now we also need a panel to hold the buttons. So we'll call that button panel. So button underscore panel equals new J panel. All right. So now we are going to create an array of J buttons. So for that we'll write J button then square braces and we'll call that button equals new and then J button and then in square braces we'll write 9 because we need 9 buttons, not more, not less. And at the end we'll be creating a boolean data type variable which will be called player1 underscore turn, which will determine whose turn it is. So we don't need a boolean for player 2's turn because if player 1 turn is false, then it is automatically player 2's turn and vice versa. So that would be everything we need to declare before we move on to a constructor for tic-tac-toe game.
Now we will be coding in blocks of code, which we will be copying from GitHub as we say, do it along. Let us start with JFrame. Copy this code and paste it in tic-tac-toe. Here we have set the default close operation, then set the size for this frame, set the background color, set a layout for this frame. Lastly, what you want is to set the frame visibility to true. So this is everything we need for the frame. Now moving on to text field. Again copying the text field code from GitHub, then pasting it. Here we have set the background color. For this background color is for our text field. Then next is for text color. Set the font, set the horizontal alignment, set some text, and then set opaque to true. This would be everything for the text field. Now let us work on panel next. So again copying, then pasting it on the this list. Here we have set the layout and we are going to use a border layout. Then for next line, we have set the balance for this panel and we are going to place the coordinates of where we want this. Next, let us add all of the buttons. So let's copy the button. Yes, before button, we'll have to add button panel. So we have set the layout in this, then set the background color. Yes, that's it. Now we will add the buttons. So let us work on these buttons before we add everything to our frame. And since we are dealing with an array of J buttons, we can easily use a for loop to take care of buttons 1 to 9. Here now we need to add some components to another. So we need to add text field to the title underscore panel and the title underscore panel to the frame and then button underscore panel to the frame. Now let us determine to see whose turn it is first. So at the end of the constructor, let us call the first turn method that we have already declared. Yes.
So now let's just have the random class pick up the random number between 0 or 1 and determine whose player's turn it is. So if the value of the boolean picked up by the random class is 0, then it would be player 1's turn. And if the random value picked up by the random class is 1, then it would be player 1's turn. 2's turn, sorry. So now we will also change the text displayed on the text field once the player has played its turn. So now if we want to display the name of the game for 2 seconds and then we want to display whose turn it is, then we can easily do this by adding a thread within a try-catch block. So now this block will let the code sleep for 2 seconds and then it will again start compiling. So now let's run the code and check it. As you can see here, we can see tic-tac-toe for 2 seconds and then the compiler automatically assigns a turn to either of the player X or O. Now, let's head up on to our action perform method. In this, the first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to stick everything within a for loop, and in that we are going to check with the if-else statements that the buttons are having some text or not. And if not, then we will be setting up some text and then making it uneditable so that the players can't play again and again. And after that, we'll be changing the text field text to the next player's turn, and that would be the action performed by our buttons. Here we have the action perform method. So we'll just copy it and we'll just paste it over here.
Now we will have to check to see if we have any winning combinations. So that's what we are going to work on next within our check method. Copy the void check from here. Then we'll paste it on Eclipse. Actually, what we need to do is check to see if each of the winning combinations has text that all matches, but we are going to do a lot of copying and pasting though, so it shouldn't be too bad. In the if statement, we have the button text being checked for the position 0, 1, and 2. And in the next step, we will be adding many else ifs so to check other winning combinations that are 3, 4, 5, then it is 6, 7, 8, and 0, 3, 6, 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8, 0, 4, 8, 2, 4, 6. And the same code is for O. First, let us check to see if this first row has any matches. And then we'll do some copying and pasting right after that. So we are going to check using if statement. And at the end, we'll be testing it for the tie condition in the else statement. We'll run a for loop for 9 times, and then it would be checking if the buttons have the text, and if so, then we'll add 1 to the variable check tag, and if all the buttons have text and there is no winning condition, that is the value of check tag is 9, then it is a tie condition and we'll call the tie method. Now moving on to our tie method. Be used to check if there is a draw between X and O. The method will display a string saying it is a tie on a text field. Now let us move on to the last few steps of this project. Let us fill in a few lines within the xwins method. Copying the xwin method from here and then pasting it. We need to indicate that the player X has won. So one thing that we can do is actually change the background color of the winning combination of buttons. So let us type in, and this is going to be passed in as an argument. And we are going to set background color to maybe dark green. Okay. And we want to disable all buttons so people cannot keep playing. So we'll put this within a for loop and we'll do this for all 9. And then lastly, we are going to change the text field to xwins. And then let us copy this and do the same thing for O. Then we are just going to change set text to O. That's it. That should be this program. Ayushi, let us now play a game to check whether we did the code correctly or not.
Yes, sure. At what index would you like to play, Anushka?
Firstly, maybe on 5th index.
So I'll play it on the 0th index.
Then I would like to play it on 7th index.
And I would like to play it on the 2nd index.
I would choose 8th index this time.
Okay, so now I'll choose the 6th index. Oh, so it's a track for you now. Where would you like to play now?
Wherever I play, you will only win this game.
Okay, so you will play on the 3rd index.
Okay.
And I'll play on the 1st index. So as you can see that the background of the buttons have been changed to dark green color, and that the text field displays the text O wins, and we are unable to play over any of the buttons again and again. So
let us play it one more time. Now it will be a fair game. So I'll take X and put it on 0th index.
Okay, so I'll be playing on the 2nd index.
Now on 4th index maybe.
So I'll play it on the 8th index.
I'll go on 5th index now.
I'll go for the 3rd index.
I'll put it on 1.
I'll put it on 7th. And you have only one option left.
So I'll put it on 6th.
So as you can see that it's a tie condition and we are unable to change the text of the text fields. So this was the game and I hope everybody of you enjoyed it. If some of you don't find it interesting or find it difficult, then we can easily build up a GUI by using a drag and drop method. And for that, we need to install the window builder, and the installation video for which have been uploaded on the GitHub links under the installation guide. So for that, you need to go to File, then New, then create a new Java project. Maybe you'll name it your first GUI, and then click on Finish. And then you don't need to create a module. Then you'll right click on your project name, then new, and then you'll go to others, and then you'll select the application window tab, and then click on next. And here you can name your GUI. So we'll name it GUI 1, and then we'll click on finish. As you can see here we have a window with two tabs, that is source and design. On clicking design, it takes us to another window, and over here we can change the layout of the frame, so that will change to absolute layout by just clicking on a drop down list. And then if you want to add the components, you can just select the components, and you can easily place it over here anywhere you want on this JFrame, and you can just press again so that the label would be there. And when you click on the component, you will be able to see the properties of the label, and over here, which from where you can change the name of the label, the text would be displaying on it. You can change the font size and style, and then you can set it enabled true to false. Okay, so that was all. For our GUI program. We hope everybody had fun making GUI and doing some code for it. You can always find this content later. Do not worry if you have missed out anything. We had a lot of fun, me and Anushka. I hope you all had it too. It's us signing off now. Bye bye. Take care. Over to you, Dishi.
Thank you so much, Ayushi and Anushka. That was indeed a wonderful session. Hope you all enjoyed learning about GUI game programming. As we know, in the previous session, a contest on HackerRank was held and introduced as STS Competitive Programming Contest. There was a huge and active participation in the contest, and the winners of the same were chosen according to the leaderboard. So now I would like to invite Risha Sharma, expert of the previous session, to announce the result of the contest.
Hello everyone, thank you Dishi. It was indeed an insightful session, Ayushi and Anushka. We were thrilled by looking at the responses of the contest named STS Competitive Programming Contest, which was held over HackerRank. And as we already know, the winners of the competitions were according to the leaderboard only. So with no further ado, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Sunday Tech series team to announce the results. The winner is Sanjana Mahapatra and has won the cash prize of rupees 700. The runner-up is Puneet Gurnani and has won the cash prize of rupees 500. Congratulations to the winners and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Risha. There will be another session on Introduction to AI and ML using Python by Mr. Dhruv Jain and Mr. Jai Sarode, students of STME NMIMS Indore, on 27th June 2021. The registration link for the same will be shared with you in the chat box. Hoping for an active participation in our future webinars as well. Moving towards the end, I'd like to thank our director, Dr. Prachi Gharpure, for providing us with the opportunity, Associate Dean, STME, and the convener of this webinar, Dr. Akhil Banglawala, faculty team of Sunday Tech series for their constant guidance, and the organizing team for making it possible. Once again, I'd like to inform you all that you will be receiving the e-certificates within 3 to 4 working days on the basis of the submission of feedback forms and the quiz only. The link for these forms will be sent to you in the chat box. Thank you and hope to see you all in the upcoming webinars.